All right, we're live. What's up, party people? It's your host Sunny Ray for the Sunny Ray Show. Today we're talking to Tu. Is it pronounced? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Tu.
Yeah, very well
Tu.
done.
Okay, nice. So he's the CEO of Smartrole. Smartrole is an AI platform for customer service training and onboarding. And we are scheduled for the next little bit here. I'm really excited to roll our sleeves up and get into it. How are you doing today, Tu?
Really good, Sunny. Good to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Awesome. Yeah, nice to have you here. So let's kick it off. I know we're going to talk about Smart Role. We're going to talk about all the cool stuff you guys are doing. But before that, maybe let's start with your background. Tell the listeners or audience a little bit about your background and what you're coming from. I do apologize. I've My wife's on route this week for travel for work, so I have a co-host that might be joining us here as well. So don't let him distract you too much.
Good kid, good kid. All good. That's how it should be. Thank you. Let's dive into it. I've been working in customer service and customer experience for the last 20 years. I started out as an agent in the front lines at a telco, taking calls there. And then I moved on to a credit card department, blocking cards and doing authorizations and fraud monitoring. And while I was there, I went from agent to manager and was manager for a number of times. Then I went to an e-commerce business, an online bookstore. I managed their customer service for about 3.5 years. And while I was there, I was approached by a couple of founders of a Danish customer service platform called Dixa. And I joined that startup as employee number six before there was any customers and any revenue. And I stayed with that company for about 7 years, raised about $165 million in funding, acquired three companies, and grew to 340 people in total at one point. So quite exciting journey, good and the bad. It was a venture-backed company with everything that comes with that. And for the last 2 years, I've been working on Smartrole, which is a training platform for customer service agents, like you said. And the problem that we saw, having been agents and managers and training teams, was that it is still done in a very traditional way where you have classroom training, you have manual side-by-side training, you review some conversations, you provide feedback to agents, and it is difficult for agents to know when they're ready, to know what kind of questions they can expect and what kind of things they're measured on. So we found out that when ChatGPT came out, you could kind of use it to create an inverted chatbot. When instead of the chatbot pretending to be a customer service agent, we created a chatbot that pretended to be a customer. And then we've expanded on that. So where we can create customers that are reaching out on phone, chat, and email. And we have a pretty strong way of evaluating the agent performance where they're giving very specific feedback on the performance so they know exactly what to improve on in the next conversation. And that's, of course, really important. So they feel much more empowered and confident and will have a better start. That's something that customers can feel.
And this is what Smart Role does, right?
Exactly.
So let me just try and maybe repeat that back to you just so I get it. So you're saying that your AI essentially helps customer service representatives become their best version of themselves type of thing by practicing with your chatbot. Is that correct?
Exactly. Exactly.
Fascinating.
When you start in customer service, you start out by having the easy tickets. Where is my order? Why is my credit card declined? When will I receive the funds for my refund and things like that? And you usually learn from the easy tickets, and then you are upgraded to the more difficult conversations. But we do see AI coming in and solving a lot of the easy tickets that were the ones that you usually used to learn from. At the same time, customers expect customer service agents to be experts. So that leaves a gap. You have to be an expert from day one without speaking to a single customer. And that's where we come in. We allow customer service agents to have live conversations with virtual customers, get feedback, find out where to find the information, how to answer, how they evaluate it. And they can do that in a safe environment where it's okay to make mistakes. It doesn't have any customer impact. And then they are much better prepared for the real world.
So tell me what I'm missing here. So right now there's this kind of this race for companies to automate customer service, right? Yet you're using it in kind of an inverse reciprocal type of way where you're using the AI to make humans better. Where did that core insight come from? And just curious how you guys stumbled across the idea.
I think when we look back a couple of years and AI came out, a lot of organizations thought that it was something that was the silver bullet that could solve a lot of challenges in customer service. And I think a couple of years down the road, we have realized that's not the case. You have to find the small problems where it makes sense to solve them instead of trying to solve everything with AI. So I think where we differentiate is based on the fact that we didn't start with AI. We started with the problem of customer service agent training, and then we happened to use AI to solve it. So it's a very vertical solution. It's very good at training, hiring, and upskilling customer service agents. And that's what it does. And yes, we happen to use AI for it because it's a very good use case for it. So that's where we feel AI is really strong when it is empowering humans to become better versions of themselves.
I like that. I like that. It's far less dystopian, right? Than I guess the current narrative. That's awesome. Hey, so too, just back up a little bit. So you also said for your previous company you raised 135 million, is that correct?
$165 million, yes.
165 million. And that company, did it have anything to do with AI or was it mostly just like a
Well,
focus on customer service?
the company was founded in 2016, and AI wasn't such a big thing back then. So it was a customer service platform where the difference to the other platforms out there was that it was all about conversation. So it didn't look at channels like a lot of the competitors did. It was handling all conversation in the same manner, regardless of the channel. It was all about getting the right conversation to the right agent in the right order. And then it also worked with offering conversations based on this logic. So as an agent, you didn't go to an inbox and cherry pick what ticket to work on. You were served the most important ticket for not only the customer, but also for the business immediately. So it was more of getting an offer, handling that conversation, getting the next conversation, and getting the next conversation. There was an acquisition of a chatbot, a German chatbot, and of course, the product has evolved into also having AI implemented. We're doing translations, doing automatic summaries. There's a pretty strong chatbot, and then there are other analytics functionality that has AI as well. But back in 2017 when I joined, there was not a lot of AI in play at that time.
And to what did your kind of like aha moment look like when you came across like your first ChatGPT or experience with an LLM look like? Like when did that happen? And did you have like a skies parting type of moment like many of us?
I think we all did, yes. We were surprised that we could ask questions in any way, and then we would get a sensible answer back. And of course, in the beginning, there were a lot more hallucinations and it made up stuff, and we had a lot of fun with it saying outrageous things. But I think we were really surprised by how conversational it was, and that has only become better over time. I'm really impressed by Gemini with Claude and a lot of these platforms, the way that they communicate and how they present information back to you. They are still very convinced that they always know the truth, and sometimes they make mistakes on what happened recently. You know, that was actually 18 months ago, or it mistakes what year we're in, and things like that. So there are still some bugs that have to be ironed out, but I was really impressed by how it could really understand what I meant and then provide a sensible answer back to me.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so talk a little bit more about the vision for Smartrole. So you're working on this training AI for customer support reps. Where do you see this all going? Let's say 5 years out, 10 years out.
I see what we're building is something that can be applied in other parts of organizations than just in customer service. There can be a lot in compliance. There can be a lot in adherence to policies. Have employees in different parts of the organization understood the right things here? And we are already seeing a lot of learning management systems that have AI bots asking employees questions, and then you provide answers, and then you are kind of graded on your performance. So that's something that we can expand into. We also see ourselves as building a moat that nobody else has, because a lot of organizations have customers speaking to chatbots. So what we have is customer service agents speaking to virtual customers. So we kind of have it in inverse. And that allows us to extrapolate what good looks like, because that is based on the conversations that are happening in our platform that is getting a high rating. And then we're looking at the factors that the businesses are setting up to evaluate those conversations. And the more conversations we complete, the more data we'll have. And that is something that can be used to create better chatbots, to create better large language models, because it is looking at it from the other side than what all the other ones are doing. And we are able to put that data back into the system and create a better experience.
That's fascinating. That's interesting. That's very cool. And what are some of the challenges you guys are facing in trying to accomplish this?
Working with AI can be fickle sometimes. In many large language models, it can be kind of a black box, and you can have a conversation with a virtual customer, and then you can say, uh, I want to know, now I'm the customer service agent, I'm helping the customer. And I can say to the customer, I want to know more about the return policy. And then suddenly the AI becomes a customer service agent and tells me about the return policy. A kind of hallucination where it changes who it actually is. And then you can have the next conversation and you do exactly the same thing, and you cannot get it to become a customer service agent instead of a customer. So there are these edge cases that are difficult to understand what is happening inside these black boxes. And of course, we are trying to put in as many guardrails as possible to create the best experience. One thing that is pretty fortunate is that our users don't have those intentions. Like, they are using it to become better at the tasks that they have in their current job. So they don't have like the motivation to try and break the model. So it's not something that we see often. But when we do our own assessment of it, we run into some edge cases that we are working on ironing out.
Yeah, I mean, because like even from my experience, AI is not very deterministic, right? It's there's like this almost randomness quality to it in terms of the outputs. So when you're deploying it at such an important part of a company's juncture, like in terms of its customer support, how are you? I mean, I'm sure you have feedback loops and you're, monitoring all of this, but is there some sort of variance? Is there like, is it 1% of the time they completely go cuckoo and the rest is
Or
good or?
it's way more or less, but we have a huge advantage here, because if you're speaking to a customer's chatbot and that hallucinates and make mistakes, you are going to have a really bad experience. And we know that from Cursor making up cancellation policies, and Air Canada allowing customers to cancel flights that couldn't be canceled. It both has negative repercussions for the business, but it also has a financial impact. Our big advantage here is that it is customer service agents that are speaking to virtual customers. And just like real customers, sometimes they hallucinate. That's just the reality. Like, you can have customers that are saying outrageous things to you. So when our virtual customers do that, it's not that far from reality.
Interesting. Okay, so you're using it to your advantage. Fascinating. And to correct me if I'm wrong, but did you also mention in the conversation we had a few days ago that you're interested in building more like a lifestyle business? Was that in our
Yeah.
conversation, right? I just found that really curious because I think we're kind of stuck in this culture where everybody's trying to raise venture capital and trying to build the next unicorn. But my conversation with you, I felt like you had this resolution and this like kind of this understanding that maybe a lot of people don't. But just curious, where did that come from, and how were you guys so sure that this is the type of business you wanted to build?
We are three co-founders, and we are not in our 20s. We've been around the block, and we are at a stage in our life where I think we are more realistic about what can be done and what can't be done. We know a lot about venture capital, and we also know that you have to get through the eye of a needle to really make it big. Like, the unicorns are far and few in between, and we know that out of 100 startups, 99 of them actually fail. And if you want to give up equity to get venture capital, you go on a different journey. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. You have to do it if that's what you want, but just go into it with open eyes. We were recently part of an accelerator with Antler. So we were part of a entrepreneur in residence in Denmark for 3 months. And we did a pitch. In the end, all the startups go in and pitch, and they get a red, yellow, or green traffic light, depending on whether they can go in front of the investment committee. And I was really happy about the presentation I did. And it was only when I was done and all the questions had been answered that I realized that in our deck, it said 5 million after 3 years. And if you are a venture capital fund, that is not the outcome that you are expecting after 3 to 5 years. You want that number to be 100 million. Uh, and I think we were just like realistic that this is what we feel that based on where we are now, where we can bring that company to. And that means that we are not a good match for venture capital. We could doctor the number and we could say that yes, we're going to be at 100 million, but we would not be true to ourselves. And we'd also go on a journey that wasn't the right journey for us.
And do you have any advice for maybe entrepreneurs that are at the beginning of their journey and as they look out into the different options? I mean, there's like TV shows about venture capital and the startup life, and they kind of glamorize it. I was watching the Uber, the whole story of Uber, and they make for great movies, but I don't know about sustainable long-term businesses. There seems to be a lot of, like you said, there's a high failure rate. But yeah, if you could speak to yourself maybe from 15, 20 years ago, would you have any wise words of wisdom?
I would say that a lot of startups, especially now and looking at AI when that came out, there's a lot of startups that are inventing problems to solve. And sometimes you are very good at telling your story and you are getting money to build that product, but there isn't a market for it, and then you actually fail. So part of it is both on the idea, and then a lot of it is of course, on execution, which is even more important than the idea. I think a lot of bad ideas can become successful if you're very good at execution. So that's what you need to focus on. And how do you find out if you can actually build a business? It is speaking to customers to validate that what you want to solve is actually a problem in the market. And I think a lot of startups, they are looking too much at it from the inside and say, I think this is an important problem. And then they get validation and they validate it through their friends and families, and they don't speak to the ones who are actually going to buy it. And that's also what I saw when I went through Antler. There was a lot of really good ideas, but they were difficult to uh, get into the market and find people that were actually willing to pay for it. It's also based on some changes in the market. If we go back 5 years, there was much more willingness to buy, and licenses weren't as serious because we were more in an upward trend. And a lot of companies had a lot of money to burn. So they would just buy whatever product that they believed would make them much better, faster, and quicker at what they wanted to do. But that has changed. Like money are more tight because of the financial situations. And you really have to earn your right to be within an organization's budget. So there's a different process to sell your product now. It takes longer. There are more stakeholders. There are more compliance checks that need to be in place, especially with AI. So it is difficult and time consuming to close customers. And you need to do the hard work in the beginning to speak to prospects to understand if the problem that you want to solve is big enough for customers to actually want to put their hard-earned money for it.
It's very refreshing. So where in terms of AGI, is that something you buy into, or do you think that's just marketing fluff?
I think it's just marketing fluff, and I
Hmm.
think one litmus test we can use is, do we have significantly better chatbot conversations now than we did before ChatGPT came out? And I would say in most cases the answer is no. And it's based on two things from my point of view. It is that there are few people that are very good at designing conversational experiences. It has to be designed in a way that sets the right expectations for the customer. And then the other part is that organizations are, I would say, slow at adding the endpoints that allows customers to do the self-service that they want. And if you have an IT team and you have somebody from marketing saying, I want this feature and it will increase revenue by 1%, and you have somebody from customer service saying, I need this feature or this endpoint, and it would reduce customer contacts by 1%, we both know which one will win out. And that is the increase in revenue, because it's really difficult to quantify what 1% less in customer contact for this specific issue actually means, where revenue is hard numbers that I can touch and feel. So that's what's going to win out. So we are seeing a bottleneck in allowing organizations to build the chatbots that allows customers to self-service. And the underlying reason for it is that organizations are not building chatbots. They are not building those features to create a better customer experience. They're building it to reduce headcount. And if that's your reason going in, the result is also going to suffer.
Interesting. Well, too fascinating interview. Really enjoyed this conversation. So where can people learn more about your company? Can they follow you on Twitter, on LinkedIn? Where can they learn more if they want to double click on the whole opportunity?
Yeah, Smartrole.ai is the best place to check it out. We also have a simulator, so you can put in the website that your company has, and then you can see how the experience would be for your brand. So it's really quick for you to get a feel for what it is that we're actually building. I'm also quite active on LinkedIn, sharing a lot of content, especially when it comes to quality assurance and customer experience, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and especially when it comes to the crossfield between technology and the human aspect. I really want to empower people to become better versions of themselves, and I think that AI is a really good enabler to do that. And I see it as something that is strengthening people instead of replacing them.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and thank you all for listening. Catch you on the next one. Too, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunny. Have a great day.